Alcatraz Island, often referred to simply as The Rock, stands as one of the most infamous landmarks in American history. Situated in the chilly waters of San Francisco Bay, it is renowned for its forbidding facade, infamous inmates, and reputation as an escape-proof federal prison. However, beyond the legends of daring escape attempts and hardened criminals, Alcatraz harbors a dark history rooted in violence, isolation, psychological torment, and systemic brutality. The evolution of Alcatraz from a military fortress to a federal penitentiary and later a symbol of Native American resistance tells a complex and often disturbing story of power, oppression, and human suffering. Alcatraz's story begins in 1850, when President Millard Fillmore ordered that the island be set aside as a military reservation. Strategically located, Alcatraz served as a key coastal fortification to protect San Francisco Bay from potential invaders. By the late 1850s, Alcatraz was armed with over 100 cannons, making it one of the most heavily fortified military sites on the West Coast. However, it soon became clear that Alcatraz's isolated location made it ideal not only for defense but also for detention. In 1861, at the start of the Civil War, Alcatraz officially became a military prison, housing Confederate sympathizers, privateers, and Union deserters. Conditions were grim. Prisoners faced overcrowding, inadequate rations, and brutal punishments such as hard labor and solitary confinement. The military's use of Alcatraz set a precedent for its later incarnation as a federal penitentiary focused on control and punishment rather than rehabilitation. In 1933, amid a nationwide crime wave and the rise of organized crime, the U.S. Department of Justice decided to convert Alcatraz into a federal prison. Its isolation, surrounded by frigid, treacherous waters and strong currents, made it the ideal place to house the most dangerous and incorrigible prisoners. The transformation involved extensive renovations to fortify the prison's security measures, including adding steel cell doors, metal detectors, and concrete reinforcements. When Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary officially opened in 1934, it was heralded as the ultimate deterrent to criminal activity. In its early years, Alcatraz enforced a rule of silence, requiring inmates to remain silent except during meals, recreation, or authorized work activities. This policy was designed to prevent plotting and violence, but often led to severe psychological effects, including depression, anxiety, and mental breakdowns. The oppressive atmosphere turned Alcatraz into a place where the mind, rather than the body, was imprisoned. Inmates, many already unstable, found the enforced isolation almost unbearable. In its early years, Alcatraz enforced a rule of silence, requiring inmates to remain silent except during meals, recreation, or authorized work activities. This policy was designed to prevent plotting and violence, but often led to severe psychological effects, including depression, anxiety, and mental breakdowns. The oppressive atmosphere turned Alcatraz into a place where the mind, rather than the body, was imprisoned. Inmates, many already unstable, found the enforced isolation almost unbearable. Daily life on Alcatraz was defined by strict routines and harsh discipline. Inmates endured meager rations. Food was basic and often unappetizing, designed to be sufficient but not enjoyable. Tiny cells, each cell measured just 5 feet by 9 feet, containing only a small cot, a sink, and a toilet. Cold showers, only cold showers were permitted even in the winter, reinforcing the harsh environment. Physical punishments, infractions, were met with beatings, solitary confinement in pitch-dark whole cells, and reduction of rations. Many inmates reported feeling as though Alcatraz was designed to break them spiritually, a place of hopelessness where escape was not just physical, but mental. Alcatraz housed some of America's most notorious criminals, including Al Capone. The infamous mob boss, suffering from untreated syphilis, deteriorated mentally during his time on the island. Machine Gun Kelly, a gangster and kidnapper, whose bravado quickly faded under Alcatraz's regime. Robert Stroud, also known as the Birdman of Alcatraz. Though romanticized in media, Stroud was a violent murderer with severe psychological problems. Alcatraz housed some of America's most notorious criminals, including Al Capone. The infamous mob boss, suffering from untreated syphilis, deteriorated mentally during his time on the island. Machine Gun Kelly, a gangster and kidnapper, whose bravado quickly faded under Alcatraz's regime. Robert Stroud, also known as the Birdman of Alcatraz. Though romanticized in media, Stroud was a violent murderer with severe psychological problems. Despite its reputation as escape-proof, Alcatraz witnessed 14 known escape attempts involving 36 inmates. Most were caught or perished in the icy waters. The most famous attempt occurred in 1962 when Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers orchestrated a daring escape using makeshift tools and papier-mâché dummy heads to fool guards. Their fate remains a mystery, fueling endless speculation and popular culture fascination. One of the bloodiest incidents in Alcatraz's history occurred in May 1946, when a group of inmates overpowered guards in an attempt to seize control. The standoff, known as the Battle of Alcatraz, lasted 2 days, resulting in the deaths of 2 correctional officers and 3 inmates, with many others wounded. The violent uprising highlighted the brutal reality of life on Alcatraz and the desperation it bred among its inmates. By the 1950s, Alcatraz was aging and deteriorating. The cost of maintaining the island prison was far higher than other facilities, and public criticism of its harsh conditions grew louder. In 1963, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy ordered Alcatraz closed, citing its high costs and the emerging philosophy of rehabilitation over mere punishment. Following its closure, Alcatraz entered a new and powerful chapter in its history. In November 1969, a group of Native American activists occupied the island, claiming it under the Treaty of Fort Laramie, which stated that unused federal land should revert to indigenous peoples. The occupation lasted 19 months and brought national attention to Native American rights, highlighting issues of broken treaties, systemic discrimination, and cultural survival. Although the federal government ultimately removed the occupiers, the protest had a lasting impact on U.S. policy towards Native Americans, marking Alcatraz as a symbol of indigenous resistance. Alcatraz's brutal regime left many former inmates mentally and emotionally scarred for life. Accounts from survivors describe enduring nightmares, emotional numbness, and PTSD long after leaving the island. While some ex-prisoners later expressed appreciation for the discipline they experienced, most remembered their time on Alcatraz as a soul-crushing ordeal. Today, Alcatraz Island is a popular tourist destination operated by the National Park Service. Visitors flock to see the eerie prison cells, the recreation yard, and the lighthouse. Interpretive exhibits now strive to tell a fuller story, not just of famous criminals, but also of the Native American occupation and the human cost of incarceration. Yet the mythologized image of Alcatraz often overshadows its darker truths. Alcatraz Island's history is far more than a catalogue of infamous prisoners and thrilling escapes. It is a story of systemic brutality, human suffering, and the resilience of those who endured its hardships. From its roots as a military fortress to its dark years as a federal penitentiary and its later role as a site of Native American protest, Alcatraz stands as a complex symbol of oppression and resistance, of cruelty and courage. To remember Alcatraz is to confront the darker aspects of American history understanding that even the most iconic landmarks can be monuments to suffering as well as symbols of strength.